Today is the best day yet for the 07 STI build. Let me get all these parts laid out, man. Okay, this should be everything. So yesterday we built our entire engine for the car. This is a semi-closed deck, EJ257, Manley rods, Wiseco pistons, ACL bearings. You get the point. Stock cam, stock springs, all that good stuff. Built bottom end, stock heads. Today I want to get it dropped in the car. Now my initial goal for the day was to actually get this car running. That is not going to happen. I completely spaced that we have a concert that we're going to tonight, and I only have 6 total hours in the shop today. So my goal is to get the long block in the car, but before that, I want to get every part that we have for the car unboxed because it's fun. So let's start with this table here. I'm going to do small stuff first today. It's like Christmas. So in this box is one single part, a cob hose. I'm assuming these guys here are the injectors, seeing how it has injector dynamics tape on it. Now for injectors, we are running a set of ID 1300s. Excited for these things. Very nice. Another cob part. So this is part of the cob SF intake. So we have the filter, the MAF housing, and the bracket. We're going to be running a cob intake on this thing. Ooh, this is a goodie box right here. Very beautiful Grimspeed bypass valve. Good old cob access port. Wrinkle red Grimspeed battery tie down. And last but not least, what is this? A full black cap set from Grimspeed as well. Being that this car is going external wastegate, picked up a Grimspeed internal gate holder, I guess you would call it. So this just holds the flap on the turbocharger closed. And this guy here should be the box for the cob SF intake system. All right, here's what we got so far. A couple nice little goodies. If you can't tell, we're doing the whole black and red theme in the bay. I think it's gonna match perfectly, as we do have the red calipers on it. Also, I did just get this windshield replaced. Look at that thing. Brand new, very lightly tinted windshield. Looks so nice. Alrighty, up next is going to be this big old boy. Sheesh. All wrinkle black piping for the parent front mount intercooler. Now with the parent front mount, you need to run a different overflow tank, which they do include as well. Here we have all the couplers, BOV adapter, clamps, and hose. That is a big old boy. Look at that. Parent front mount intercooler. Well, this table's all filled up with goodies. We already unboxed the exhaust a few days ago, but let's get her laying out on the table and see how glorious it looks. Here's a full exhaust system, manifold downpipe, catback. This here should be our Turbski inlet, Perrin turbo inlet with some adapters and whatnot. And this here is from a company called PLM. And this is going to be our external wastegate setup. Up pipe, that's where the external gate goes. Okay, we got one more box before we move on to the freaking turbo. Fuel pump. This is an AEM 340. Grimspeed alternator shroud, Grimspeed electronic boost control solenoid, EBCS, and a pair of Grimspeed hood struts. Very, very, very excited for this turbocharger. This is a, let's just go open it before I tell you. This, my friends, is a turbo from Boost Controlled Performance, and this is their X500R. This thing is capable of making some serious jam, and of course it looks absolutely beautiful. All right, we got two things left. I'm out of table space, so we can open them on the floor. Good radiator is always needed. I really enjoyed the Koyos. Look at that beautiful thing. And for a clutch, none other than an advanced clutch technology, ACT clutch. All right, that's everything. All right, so there's two different ways of going about getting this thing in the car, meaning we can do it bare like it is right now. Of course, I'll get the timing covers and whatnot on, or we can have it fully assembled with the intake manifold, AC compressor, alternator, power steering pump, and all that good stuff. I'm going to, this time around, get it in the car bare like this, just a long block. And the main reason for it is because we are waiting on the powder for the intake manifold to come in. This thing is very, very crusty and needs to be recoated before it goes on. So with that being said, let's get a few more goodies on this engine and get it dropped in the car. I figured when you buy a brand new center timing cover, it'd come with all the gaskets, but that was not the case. So I had to pull this guy back off, went to the dealer this morning, got the appropriate gaskets required, and now the timing covers can go on once and for all. I'm pretty sure these gaskets were more expensive than the cover itself. If not more, it was close. They were expensive. So one upper, one lower. Man, if I would have known these outer covers were that crusty, I would have replaced them. I thought they would clean up better, but let's try something real quick. All right, we got them fully cleaned up with IPA. I know it's kind of hidden when it's in the car, but let's do a quick Cerakote trim coat on these things. Oh yeah, that looks good. Covers look brand new. Big thanks to the Cerakote trim coat. There's some coolant lines that run down back there. One goes to the heater core. Those two down there go to the water pump. This goes to throttle body. And then this upper coolant crossover pipe that runs from the heater core over to the upper radiator hose. Sits underneath the intake manifold. The bolts for that crossover always tend to rust out. Dealer unfortunately was back ordered, so some non-OEM proper lengths will have to do. Kind of space this guy, it does have to bolt on to the crossover, but all the hoses, all of these rubber hoses that you guys see on here, they're all gonna get replaced with a new set, because after a couple years, I mean it's 07, so after a couple years they get really hard and they just crack out. So this is what the hose, this breather right here is supposed to feel like, and this is what a 2007 one is like. As you can see, it's rock hard. Knock sensor goes to 17.7 foot-pounds or 212 inch-pounds. If it's too tight or too loose, you may get some false knock. Well, that's pretty much it for up top. I'm gonna get the cam sensors on and the filler neck on, just so the motor is sealed for the most part. I'm gonna flip this thing over, do a couple things underneath. I bought a complete Gates timing belt and water pump kit for 07 STI. Water pump is not right. There should be a nipple or an outlet right here that goes to this crossover pipe that runs over to the oil cooler. But as you can see, nipple is non-existent. That is very frustrating. This thing's about ready to go in. I'm glad I noticed that now instead of when it's in the car. I'm glad I'm doing the oil cooler now. But we need to source a water pump, go get it, take the whole timing kit back off, and get that water pump swapped. So I was unable to locate a new OEM pump, but what I did locate is a very low mileage water pump off of Gary, off of Bobby's STI when I did that motor build. Call me crazy, but I would much rather run a lightly used low mile OEM pump versus a freaking O'Reilly's or auto parts store pump. I do not have good luck with those parts these days. I'm hoping I can somehow leave this thing timed and get the water pump swapped. Let's see what we can do. Yeah, it's not going to be possible. There's no way. Not a big deal. OEM pump is back on. Let's get this thing retimed and hopefully get her in the car tonight. I do want to get the turbo kit on, exhaust manifold, up pipe, turbo on, all that stuff on before it goes into the car. All right, we're back to where we started, or I guess I should say back to where we left off. And now our oil cooler line right here, the crossover, has a place to go. All of the oil cooler stuff is complete. These two hoses right here, I did space ordering, so I'm gonna have to run to the dealer. Hopefully they have those in stock and I can pick those up in the morning. But for now, let's just focus on getting this engine in the car. So let's move on with the turbo stuff. HKS manifold going on, I'll link that down below. BCP 500R going on, I'll link that guy down below, and of course the PLM up pipe as well. And the beloved manifold goes on. Manifold fits like it should, like factory. Don't want to be reusing all the old crusty exhaust hardware. Gets all nasty and rusty after the years. Manifold is on, looking absolutely freaking beautiful. All right, let's get the up pipe on. So with this up pipe, I'm not gonna tighten the two flange bolts down here until the turbo's on and the two brackets are on that hold, I guess, the up pipe and the turbo in place as well. Just so everything can be kind of aligned. Make sure nothing's sitting at a weird angle, and then go ahead and torque everything down. Now thankfully PLM included all new studs and hardware throughout, so we don't gotta use the old stuff. Now these two brackets right here, these are the two brackets for the up pipe and turbo. They're crusty, but I'm trying to keep in mind this car is not a full restoration. It's so hard for me to put stuff like this on a build. Granted, no one sees it, whatever. If I start refinishing this kind of stuff, man, I will pull this whole entire car apart and refinish everything. So I can't do it. I'm not gonna let myself do it. All right, guys, we are officially ready for the turbo. Gotta start with getting that return line on. She's hitting the brackets. See if I can make some adjustments. We may not be able to run one of the brackets, which wouldn't be a super big deal. All right, got her to fit. Last thing to install before this thing goes up in the air and gets a flywheel and clutch is the oil feed line kit that BCP sends out. They send all the goodies with their turbo. Something like that, so it comes out of the back of the head, factory location. Don't worry, it's not tight yet. Straight line right to the top of the turbo. Figured we may as well throw this little internal gate flapper on before it goes in the car. Hopefully it works for the BCP turbo, because I know it's for a stock turbo, but it should. I have to make some adjustments with that line. So all this is going to do is hold that internal gate flap shut. You can weld it shut as well. It's not going to work. Unless you drill new holes, then it would. Some light mods to this old girl. This guy's on. New oil feed line is on. Honda sounds really cool. Let's get it off the stand, onto the hoist, and start messing around with the ACT clutch. I figured while it's on the stand, let's go ahead and toss in the new plugs. If you guys have ever done Subi plugs while the motor's in the car, you know that's not fun. Yeah, I'd say that's got a couple miles on her. Gonna gap these suckers down to a 018. If I don't do it now, we probably would be doing it on the dyno, which is not fun. I think factory they're around it's like a 028. It's a 030 right out of the box. That is massive. 018. Bam. Now typically, if it's like an inline 4, an Evo, I would leave the plugs out while I'm cranking it to build oil pressure. In this case, being that plugs are so hard to get to, I'm not going to do that. Alright, this thing is finally ready to go. Took a little longer than expected, but it's proper and ready to rip. Man, oh man, this thing is clean. So this guy's going to go on with the OEM flywheel bolts, with, of course, as always, a touch of red Loctite on all of the clutch and flywheel hardware. A handy little tool from Company 23 is this flywheel holder, so that you can, by yourself, get the clutch and flywheel torque down. The flywheel goes to 55 foot-pounds. The clutch bolts go to 12 foot-pounds, or 144 inch. I like to jack up the transmission a little bit right up front to kind of give it a angle so everything lines up easier. Something like that. So this can either go one of two ways. Nice and simple, or pain in the butt. Let's of course hope for the nice and simple method. Slowly but surely lower her down till it's close. Oh man, that was way too easy. I had a dream last night. I was ripping on this thing in the mountains. Well, not really ripping on it, but kind of just cruising with some random other guy who had a wide body STI. Didn't even know who it was. This thing in my dream had a billet block, and I snapped a rod and put a hole through the block. I was freaking out when I woke up because this motor's been together for so freaking long with no issues. But it was just a dream. And then it throws a rod right now. Could you imagine? This is my outfit? This is what I have to wear?
Yes.
Honey.
You have a couple different options. If you want to wear long sleeve, you can wear long sleeve. If not, you have a black shirt right here.
I'll do a short sleeve.
Okay.
So I can dance better. You look like a country woman.
Thanks.
So I don't know which way is front.
That's the front. Holy crap.
Do I look pretty cool?
You do. You look very neat.
I'm a little hairy.
It's okay. That's what cowboys are like.
What? You leave the key on? It's dead. That is the doorknob. We don't have a jump pack here. This is why old cars are better. This old girl's gonna fire right up. How do people drive with cowboy hats on?
I don't know.
This car has literally sat for 20 years and it fires right up. Drove the NSX, the new one, 2 days ago and she won't fire.
This one just got a few little.
What'd you leave on the NSX?
I didn't leave anything on. Quite frankly, you're the one that drove it last to church.
Oh, traction control. Wait for it. See?
Yep. I feel it. I was hoping to listen to some Cody Johnson songs before we got to the concert.
Radio don't work.
So before I say another word, before I sing another note, I want to say something that means a lot to me, and I hope it means something to you. Before I say this, I want to make this very clear. I am not your preacher on Sunday morning.
Yes,
Today
sir.
I've been thinking about all the places that I could have gone in my life, besides following this dream and working my tail off along with all these men up here working their tail off to get to this point. So tonight here on this stage, I want you to know that this is from the bottom of my heart, even though I'm not a perfect person. I want all the glory, all the credit tonight to go to Jesus Christ for giving me this life. I'll say